بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome to my channel QHE Tajweed Rules of the Quran channel in English. Subhanallah, I miss you every time till I give you the next class. I didn't see any one of you, but I still feel like you are my family. Subhanallah al-Azim. May Allah reward all of you back for your study, and may Allah keep all of you in His way, Ya Rabb, Allahumma Ameen. Today, inshallah, we will continue our articulation point of the letters, makharij al-huruf al-Arabiya. And we are in the third measure, which is al-lessan. And like we will go through this picture very quickly to remind you, al-lessan, the tongue, has 10 articulation points for 18 letters. This is the root of the tongue, and this is the farthest part of the tongue. This is middle of the tongue, top of the tongue, tip of the tongue, and this is our lessons. And this is the edge of the tongue. We still explain the tip of the tongue. We finish few classes in the tip of the tongue, and we, inshallah, continue our classes in taraf al-lisan, the tip of the tongue. And we said we have 5 articulation points for 11 letters come out from the tip of the tongue. The first letter is letter Nun, second letter is letter Ra. This is 2 separate articulation points. Ta, Ta, and Dal, this is another articulation point, and I colored all of them for you with the same color because it's come from the same articulation point. Saad, Seen, and Zaa, and this is another articulation point, and all of them is come from the same one. Dha, Dhal, and Tha, this is our next articulation point, and this is same articulation point too. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 articulation point. Our lesson today, inshallah, it will be about letter Saad, Seen, and Zaa. Let's go together and see from where these letters is come out and how can we pronounce it right. Seen, Saad, and Zaa, it's coming from منتهى طرف اللسان مستدقه مع صفحتي الثنيتين السفليين فيخرج الصوت من بين الثنايا العليا والسفلى ويسمى بصوت الصفير. Let's see this by English. The very tip of tongue and the inner bottom of the lower incisors. And the sound comes from between the upper and bottom teeth. The tongue is not touching at all the upper teeth. It just, you put it in the lower teeth from inside. From inside. The inner bottom of the lower incisors. Okay? And the sound comes from between the upper and bottom teeth. The sound. We call this sound صفير, and this is one of the characteristics of letter Sin. صفير means whistle. Okay? So, that's why scholars call the group of Sin, Saad, and Zaa with 2 names. First name is al-huruf al-asliya, because it comes from the very tip of the tongue, topper of the tongue, very tip of the tongue. And this is, we call it asli lisan. That's why they call it al-huruf al-asaliya or al-huruf al-asaliya. So they call it another name, which is, this is note number 2, huruf al-safir. Al-safir again means whistle sound. why they call it this name? Because the sound comes from between the upper and bottom teeth, and it's make like whistle sound. As, as, as. Did you hear this sound? That's why we call it حروف الصفير. And this is our second note here about the names of these letters. شاهد الجزرية for these letters is والطاء والدال وتا منه ومن عليا الثنايا. This is the شاهد جزرية for طاء and دال and تا. والصفير مستكن. الصفير مستكن means the صفير, the whistle sound is happen because the way we put the tongue, the tip of the tongue in the inner bottom of the teeth. منه means from the tongue, ومن فوق الثنايا السفلى. So the tongue, we put it in the top of the lower incisor, inner bottom incisor teeth. منه means from the tongue, ومن فوق means from the top of الثنايا السفلى. الثنايا السفلى means the bottom incisor. This is how it looks, letter Seen and Zaa and Saad. Letter Seen and Zaa, it's exactly like letter Saad in the tip of the tongue with the inner bottom incisor teeth. The two lower and front teeth. What's the difference between Saad and the other two letters? Letter Saad, because it's heavy, your tongue should to be up from the back here with the soft area. But letter Seen and Zaa, it's down. Both as, as, and there is different characteristics between them too. We will know it in the characteristic chapter, inshallah ta'ala. Very important note here. A lot of people, when they sound letter Saad, they use their lips and they say else, and they circle their lips from here. This is wrong. Any heavy letter, it depends in the tongue from the back, not in the lips. Else, not else. Okay? Else, not else. Different. I see some of my students, when we don't open the camera and I hear the sound, I told them don't use your lips in letter Saad, for example. They said, how do you know? And they are crazy about how I know. I know by the sound, because instead of the Saad sakina, it's starting to be a Saad with dhamma. So it's different sound. Okay, so be sure your lips in the regular position when you sound letter Saad, and you can notice that by a mirror. Use a mirror and watch yourself when you say letter Saad, as, yes, os, and say some words with letter Saad too in front of the mirror. How does the Safir happen here? The tongue is have this area in all that letters, and the sound is coming from inside to outside, but it's hit the upper teeth and lower teeth at the same time, and then it's go outside. This is how the whistle sounds of the Safir happen. Okay? Inshallah, this is clear for you.
أص صا صي صو صادق.
Example word أصحاب. As, not ashab, and this is the mistake I heard from non-Arab. Subhanallah, this letter is hard for them because they don't use to say heavy letters in most of the language of non-Arab. So I need to put my tongue up from the back and sound this letter. As, okay? Ashab. Al-qasas. Al-qasas. not al-qasas, not al-qasas, not al-qasas. It's al-qasas. So you should to put your tongue back in these three letters, qaf and sad, because all of them is heavy. Should to put it up from the back. السماء فوسط فوسط. Did you hear letter sin? الزواج الزانية الزانية. Inshallah, this is clear examples for you. All of them from the same articulation point, all of them, they are brother and sisters, but there is characteristics different between them. It changes the sound of them. First one, the tongue from the back. In letter Saad, it's up, but in other letters, it's down, like we saw in the picture. By this, our lesson for today is completely done. Our class today, it was super easy. The main mistake I heard in letter Saad for non-Arab, just they make it light. But other letters, I don't hear too much mistakes from non-Arab on it. Letter Za, sometimes they make it like Seen. Why? Remember letter Za is like B sound. As. Try to make it like B sound. Okay? Plus the other mistake in letter Za or Seen, they make it heavy. And we said to make it light, put your tongue from the middle down. Instead of as, or as, say as. Put your tongue down from the middle. You will make these letters light enough. Allah, we will explain this more in the صفات الحروف, how we fix this problem too. جزاكم الله خيرا. To watch my channel QHE Tajweed Rules of the Quran channel in English. Please don't forget to share the videos, subscribe, like, and جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.